I started this last week in Vegas, talking about the 1980-81 season. It is the second season that the WHA teams had been allowed to join and play against their NHL brethren, and they were NHL teams. And it's interesting because the first line of the preview for the National Hockey League, and there's Coach Jerry Cheevers of the Boston Bruins. Overtime isn't the only innovation fans will have to get along without in the 1980-81 season. So they tried to bring in overtime. The fans wanted it, but it just didn't work. There wasn't enough of an appetite for it. Now, of course, overtime will become an issue in the NHL within a few years, but not yet. There's also the prospect of making do with a balanced schedule once again. So the WHA joins the league and they say, we want to be able to showcase every team, and we want to be able to showcase every team twice. So we want to have the Montreal Canadiens coming through Hartford twice. We want to have all of these great NHL teams against each other twice coming in here. And it is an interesting argument that I've kind of made before. Now, I'm not in favor of a balanced schedule now, not with 32 teams, which is where we're going to be when Seattle comes in. But I am in favor of a better system than what we have now with their scheduling. And I think it's going to get forced that way because they talk in here about how you can't create the rivalries when you only see a team 4 times in a year. Which is weird because if you see a team 4 times in a year now, that's a division rival, right? Because your teams that you play from your own conference, you see them 3 times a year, and teams from another conference, you see them twice a year. So the balanced schedule was great for these WHA teams, and yet it created an awful travel schedule for teams like Vancouver. It was just awful, and I remember how horrible that was. But it also meant the divisions didn't mean anything. So you're playing against everybody else the same number of times. What's the point of having divisions? So in the playoffs, Team 1 faces Team 16, Team 2 faces Team 15, and with a balanced schedule, you can do that. And this is part of the argument I have for why we have the playoffs set up the way they do. At the end of the year, we look at points and we go, this team got more points than that one. Why did the team with the lower amount of points make the playoffs? Did they have a tougher schedule? Did they play in a tougher division? There's that, right? So it's not as simple as just saying points equal better team with who makes the playoffs, because I think there's more to it. And I'm glad I'm not the one who's making the decision on how to make this work. But the idea of, in a 21 team league, you play each team 4 times. It sounded good, but we'll see. In the meantime, it's a balanced schedule for another year, and indications are that the balance of power in the league has not undergone much change. In the coaching department, there are a number of new coaches stepping in. Former players Jerry Cheevers in Boston and Keith Magnuson in Chicago. We'll find out what it's like behind the bench without their skates. Eddie Johnston shifts to Pittsburgh. Billy McMillan takes over for Don Cherry in Colorado. Nobody could save Colorado Rockies. Roger Nielsen becomes Buffalo head coach under general manager Scotty Bowman. And of course, we're only a year out from when Roger Nielsen joins the Canucks and ends up being their head coach during the run in 1982 to the Stanley Cup final. 2 other hockey higher-ups will also experience the pains and triumphs of coaching. Ted Lindsay, who lost his general manager duties with the Red Wings, and Maurice Filion in Quebec, who has added the coaching mantle to his general manager's portfolio. And then they talk about who's going to be where in the divisions. Edmonton has Wayne Gretzky, and that's something, but they might not find it enough to get them into the playoffs. Not interesting. That's just an interesting little tidbit there. The idea that, yeah, these guys have Gretzky, but what else do they have? They probably won't even make the playoffs. 1981, that's year 2 for Gretzky. And then this is after the first year that the Islanders won the Stanley Cup. So I just wanted to take a quick overlook here of where the league was when I started watching it. Was, again, 80-81 season. That balanced schedule. I believe the Canucks ended up playing Philly that year in the playoffs. And it's interesting, too, because you have Wayne Gretzky here shown with a trophy. Kid there. And then Ray Bourque as well. Presented the Calder Trophy. And there's Bourque with a terrible mustache. Just a really bad decision by him, which he would write later on. And then, of course, there's Marcel Dion on the facing page with Gordie Howe. Dion having won the Art Ross Trophy because he had more goals than Gretzky. And underneath that is Larry Robinson, who had won the Norris Trophy. So you'll notice that there's a lot less in here about the individual trophy winners than you're going to have now. They don't show all the voting and all that stuff. It's just about, and there's, of course, what we'll get to, which is the Stanley Cup. Now, the interesting thing, too, is that I also have the 1982 annual, which is the season after this one, and I may get into that season as well. We'll see how this series goes, and look at the fact that the year that this book is released, there's no talk about how hockey's scoring is going to necessarily explode, and yet that's exactly what was going to happen in the 80-81 season. And the game changes forever has a lot to do with that kid on the cover. All right, so there you go. Where the NHL was entering the 80-81 season, no overtime yet, and a balanced schedule. And again, doesn't that mean the divisions don't mean anything? I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below, because as we get that 32nd team in the league, as Seattle comes in, these are the kinds of questions we're going to be asking about scheduling, divisions, and all this stuff, and how we may have to change things. So I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Just tapping upon this video, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.